All right, welcome everyone. So this month we are talking with Erin Johnson for our conservation career chat. She is a recreational planner, and I'm sure there's a better title for that, Erin. You're welcome to talk about that too. But we're going to be talking a little bit about her job today. And like normal, we do these once a month, and we still have a few more to go. And they are on the third Wednesday of every single month, talking about some different careers that we have here at Nebraska Game and Parks, and just highlighting some different very cool conservation careers that we have. So today we're going to be talking with Erin, and I'm going to let her have the floor. She's going to tell a little bit about her and her background and her job. And then if we have any questions, we will open it up. So go ahead, Erin.
Thanks, Monica. Yeah, no, you were pretty close with the title. It's officially recreation planner. Sometimes it gets referred to as outdoor recreation planner. But yeah, so that's it. I work within the planning and programming division, which is a service division within Game and Parks. So we work directly with the other divisions as opposed to directly with the public. That said, we do still have some interaction with public. I can get into that as I talk more about my job. So I guess my background to getting to this position is very non-traditional from what one normally thinks of for a Game and Parks position. I don't have a history. I don't have a background in biology. I don't have any of that. I actually have my undergraduate degree is in sociology, which I did here in Lincoln at the University of Nebraska. And I have a master's in recreation administration, which I received from Georgia Southern University. So it kind of traveled a little. I'm originally from Nebraska, kind of left my comfort zone for that one, which I would highly recommend. It definitely allows for a lot of learning you don't even realize that you really need. So really my background is solely in recreation, and very specifically university recreation with a major focus on outdoor recreation. So I did, with my master's program, I did a graduate assistantship with the outdoor recreation program at Georgia Southern University. So it was a lot of out in the field. We took students on all kinds of trips and taught climbing and had groups at a ropes course, and just, traveled the whole country. It was pretty fabulous. From there, I worked for an outdoor therapy company in Utah. So we were taking teenagers who were having a hard time with addiction and putting them basically in kind of a boot camp type situation in the middle of the desert. So I was a field support supervisor for that job, which really, if all along, all of my positions that I've done, everything I've done, if looking at it from the planning lens now, it's like, oh yeah, it totally fits, because everything I did required a lot of planning, a lot of forethought, a lot of linking things together that were outside of my control. And then bringing in learning about that physical and outdoor environment and being able to communicate that with whomever I was working with. So from there, I really got back into university recreation. I worked for Nebraska Wesleyan University and University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. And with those positions really focused more on students and student employment, along with programming, not necessarily the outdoor programming. It was more intramural sports and facility management, things like that. But once again, still all relates, because you definitely have to have a good plan in place if you're going to set up these programs for years on end. At that point, I really shifted. I really thought that I would forever be in campus recreation. That would be my thing. But, as you know, life changes everything, and got married, had a daughter, and really decided, no, I need to be home with her. So, and we also wanted to move back to Nebraska with our family. So I'd kind of chalked it up to, well, I'm probably not going to work in recreation ever again, because finding a recreation job in the exact location you want to be is extremely difficult. I had always just kind of accepted that I was going to travel where the job was, because that was the way it was going to be. And I was excited about that. So after a few years of staying home with her, she started school. And so I started working part-time for Southeast Community College, just as, something to do, kind of get back into the job world. And this recreation planner position opened up, and a friend of mine, I wasn't even looking for a job. A friend of mine sent it to me and said, hey, this sounds like you. And as I started reading through the job description, I was like, this does sound like me. You know, I love planning. I love having all this together. I don't have that actual planning degree, but I have the administrative degree. So a lot of things just linked up and it felt right. I applied, got an interview, and 2 years ago I started, and tomorrow is actually my 2-year anniversary. So
That's so cool that you, I know you mentioned you didn't have a traditional path to get here. You know, a lot of people at Game and Parks have been here since they were 16 and slowly moved up the ropes. But I think it's good to have those other experiences too. And I also admire how you've done recreation and outdoor therapy, and you worked in Wisconsin and you worked in Georgia. And so like all of those different places definitely helps bring some good perspective into this as well. Even though you're from Nebraska, you've had that outside experience, and that's very cool.
yeah. And I do think it, and even though it's like, I've joked that, you know, it's like every time I've moved back to Nebraska so many times. And so hopefully this was the last time, I don't know. But I agree with you on having those experiences in other places. And it's helped to build connections with other people too. Is, you know, I mean, I've found connections with even different staff that have been at Game and Parks forever. You know, there's one colleague who has a child who is in Southern Georgia that, you know, we have that in common. There's another staff member that came from Southeastern Utah. And so we had that connection. So being able to build those connections immediately with something in common I've found that to be beneficial, that it's not that I haven't just been, oh, this is where I've been forever and I've never left the state. Even though that is also really good because you're building that super long-term knowledge. But I think having that variety, I agree, is really good. It's really good.
And I think a lot of people are starting to do that too, especially like I work in environmental education, and there's not a ton of jobs. It's a very small, close kind of community, and it's nice to have those different perspectives from people that are out of state and have done things differently, or what if we try this? So yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah, it's been good. So yeah, so I came into Game and Parks. I mean, I was always a user of the parks and understood what I thought was so much before I got this position, and immediately found out that I was wrong. I knew this much about Game and Parks. And so that's really been probably one of my most favorite things about this position, is that learning opportunity, and then taking that information and sharing it with anybody that will listen to me about, oh my gosh, do you realize we have, and even just the tiny things of learning about some WMAs I didn't know existed, or rec areas I didn't know existed, and all those little things. And that's been probably my most favorite thing. Most of my days are, you know, obviously planning. I've worked on projects for probably my most, like I said, I've only been here 2 years. So which was interrupted by the pandemic, which slows everything down. As we all know, probably like the project that I've almost completed now that I've really enjoyed is been a real redevelopment plan for Dead Timber State Rec area. And it's this little tiny park north of Fremont, and it's right on the Elkhorn River, and a large majority of the land is actually in the floodplain. And, you know, with writing a plan like that, there's a lot of research that goes into it. I have to figure out the history of the space and what it is that the people who are managing that land want to do with it, and what they can and can't, and lining that all up. But so looking at the history, this poor park is flooded over and over and over again. And it's amazing how the community around it, and even that space, has been really resilient to that, even with all of the damage and things. Back when it started as a park, there was this big thought that they would be able to really use that lower area that's in the floodplain. The National Youth Association built this amazing stone shelter house that has withstood flood after flood after flood. I mean, obviously it's had some work done, it's had a roof repaired, it's had things like that. But it's probably not going to last much longer. But so that's part of the redevelopment plan, is to get that out of there. Let's save it before it does end up downriver. But within all of that, being able to meet the people in that community and seeing their passion for this little gem of a space, And being able to take everything I've learned, everything that Parks needs, and put that into a plan is really rewarding. And it feels so good to just be like, okay, now there are steps for them to be able to redevelop the space, as opposed to just trying to keep up with what's right in front of them, which, as we all know, if you're constantly dealing with a problem, which is what the floods bring, it's really hard to move forward. And so, yeah, so that was really exciting. And something that went along with that we hadn't ever done in the past, because with any of these large plans, we like to get the public involved. We want to know what they're thinking, what they need, how are they really using this space? But we were right in the middle of COVID, and going to the nearby towns, going to Scrivener and setting up a meeting, that wasn't an option. And so for the first time, we as a planning department did a virtual public meeting, and it was highly attended. We had like 170 people attend, and we were able to present some concepts and of what this space could look like and what we could do with it. And the community was able to comment on that, not only in the meeting, but also afterwards on an interactive web page where they could, put a pin down and say, hey, why can't we do this? Or I like this idea, or you've missed this. And then we had this wonderful resource to be able to then incorporate within the plan. So that was really exciting. That was really fun.
That is so cool. 170 people in a virtual meeting. Wow. That's like a public meeting. That's great.
Yeah. And it was interactive too. It wasn't just listening, because we not only, we did a presentation, and then we broke into breakout rooms and had 6 breakout rooms and had people being able to not only communicate with us as we were walking them through the concepts, but they were able to access the page at the same time and make comments. So then we could keep discussion going, whether it be through, typed word or through voice. It was really exciting. It was a really good time.
So I know that you've mentioned you started amongst COVID and you haven't really probably done the full potential of what your position could do as far as like going out in the field and that kind of stuff. But your vision for the future, if we are able to go when we are able to go back in the field, what do you see your percentage wise as being office bound versus going out into the field? What does that look like, you hope?
Yeah, well, I would hope to be in the field so much, but that's not really the scope of the position. Definitely requires some getting out there, which I was able to do a little bit during COVID, just because I was able to go on my own with no one else involved, and it was outside, and I could just meet at a distance with one person kind of thing, to do that site assessment to really get an idea of what those spaces were like. I would say when it comes down to it, unfortunately, it's not even, it's probably only about 5% of a year would really be full on in the field. I would love to say it was more than that, but it's like, even if I go to 10%, I'm like, that's a significant part of an entire month, and that's not the way it's going to be. So it really is a lot of computer time. And that's probably the only downside, is there are days when I'm just like, okay, too much screen time. I just can't. And I'm going to have to find something else to do, set up a meeting with someone, start our phone call to answer some questions, those kinds of things, because it can get a little cross-eyed.
Yeah, no, I totally feel you there, especially, when I think of recreational planner, planning to me is computer or a lot of writing. So yes. I'm sure that you had to do a lot of, or maybe you didn't, but you took some classes for your master's and for college, undergrad, talking about those writing skills and oral communication as well. And a lot of people don't think about that as far as like, oh, you work at Game and Parks, you work outside and you work with animals. And we actually work a lot with the people, and we have to do virtual meetings and express like what we're thinking. So yes. Did you have to do any of those oral communication skills or writing?
Yes, definitely. And it's I feel like with most of my path of getting to the different positions I've been in, the hindsight is so much more valuable than, it's like I wasn't sitting in an undergraduate degree thinking someday I'm going to work for Game and Parks. I was just trying to make it through whatever class I was sitting. I was trying to make it through statistics. Oh, look what's really valuable now. I had this public meeting and I had all these people contributing this information, and what percentage contributed this, and what's this, and what, and it's like, oh yeah, like that's stats class. It's actually really important. Same with, writing, and like for my master's degree, I did a trying to think of what to actually call it because it's slipping my mind, but I did a research review paper on diversity in the outdoors, and really reading through all of the research that had already been done to sum up as to kind of answer that question of, why does the participation in outdoor activities not reflect the diversity of our country? And at the time I chose that because I was interested, and I had to do a paper because that was required for my degree. And looking back now, I'm like, well, that's exactly what I'm doing now. I'm taking a problem and I'm going out and I'm finding all of the research, and I'm finding what have other people done, what has worked here, and then combining that into, this is what I propose we could do to solve your problem of, whatever, of dead timber, and how we can redevelop so that it becomes what everybody wants it to be, and it can be supported as what everybody wants it to be. So yeah, very directly related. At the time, would have never thought so. I was just, fulfilling a requirement and moving on. And I'm really amazed at how much that happens. And yeah, and just kind of looking back, it's like, oh yeah, I think I should have a little bit been able to see that, no, this will actually be beneficial.
It's really hard.
And I think I knew that, but it is, because you're just tunnel vision. Yeah.
When you say like you're just trying to get through, like you said statistics, and my mind went right to statistics as well. I always had a hard time with that class, but I don't know if I use it as much as you do, but yes, there are components that are very relevant now. So yeah,
darn it anyway. Yeah. All those times you're like thinking, I don't even need this. I'm never going to use this. And no, we totally do. So yeah.
So talking a little bit about if you were to hire someone, or if someone wanted to be in this position, what do you look for? I'm not sure if you directly hire anybody, but if you do, or you would, what is something that really sticks out for you as far as either their resume or their job experience or their skills that they have? What are you looking for?
Yeah, in this position, I actually do not. I have sat on one interview committee so far in the 2 years I've been here. Prior to this position, I was very much in the position of hiring when I worked at Nebraska Wesleyan and at, many places. Anyway, I hired a lot of student employees. So, and a couple full-time now that I think about it. But point being, it's, recreation, still kind of related. In the situation there and here, it's really an environment where you have to be excited and willing to learn, and excited or not afraid to make mistakes, because that's how we learn. Everything is always changing. And if you think that there's, no way that, a mistake is a failure, you're not going to thrive. You're going to drown. It's not going to go well. So really for me, that's it, is if somebody comes in and the resume, it's obvious that they have learned from every step that they have taken through their progression of their career or their education. And it's obvious that they're wanting to step out and learn more and aren't afraid to take those risks to learn and grow. That's somebody I really want to work with.
All right, good to know. And then do you think that over time, in the next maybe 5, 10, 15 years or so, we're going to see an increase, a decrease, kind of a stabilization? Do we need recreational planners? Are we going to need those people? Are we going to need more of them? Are we going to have a decrease, you think? Or what does that job outlook look like as far as your kind of position?
Yeah. Well, kind of looking at it where it's just within the short term, where it's come from and kind of where it's going, I think it's going to increase. I think we're going to see more resources devoted to planning because of the results that come after. It's not going to be for the planning itself. It's going to be for the value that the different divisions have in being able to say, I have a plan. I can just go and start checking things off, and I can get good things done, as opposed to trying to do that on the fly as they're working through things. So I think that value is really, it's really on the up. It's already showing, and I think it's going to continue to increase, not only with game and parks, but as, conservation, recreation as a whole.
I mean, that's good to hear. We want to hear that. So
I hope I'm right. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all want to see our jobs increase, but we also have to think about how relevant they are to today. And like you said, planning, like things change and things are getting, especially in Nebraska, like things are getting older and new things are coming, new technology, new experiences, new perspectives. And so, yeah, I think you're right. I would agree with you. We're going to need more.
And I think planning really helps to get people's head around those new things. Because new's scary, especially if you've been doing it this way for a really long time and the people you're working for and working with are comfortable and they like it and they're happy. It's really hard when you're in that position to be okay when somebody comes in and says, we're going to change things, because it's like, no, I'm good, leave me alone.
Yeah.
So I really think planning helps lay that out, that it's not an all or nothing thing, that it's a gradual thing. And you can keep all of the things that you've done in the past and add or change them to make them even better. And so, yeah, I think planning really helps to make people more comfortable with things like that.
Awesome. Well, if you want to talk maybe a little bit about for those people that would maybe like to change their career or get into recreational or planning, something to that degree, what are some practical advice that you would give them? What should they start looking for? Is there a specific degree or degrees or type of degree that you would maybe suggest that they would look into, or some internships or experiences that would be helpful? Yeah, anything?
Yeah. Well, my advice is a little to the side, just because I didn't do the traditional planning route. There are planning degrees. My supervisor has a planning degree. It's definitely very beneficial, but that's not to say that that is the only way to go. I mean, my experience is exactly it. I can't believe there was no one else that applied for my position that didn't have a degree in planning. I'm sure there was somebody that did, but my experience obviously was able to supersede that. So really my advice for this, this type of job, or really any recreational type of job, is get a diverse amount of experience. Don't be afraid to try something new. Don't be afraid to try something you didn't really think you were interested in. It's like over the years, I have tried things that I didn't think, working in camps, we had a shooting range. I have never in my life wanted to shoot a gun. Not my idea of a good time at all. But I tried it. And so I had that experience. So now it's not this completely foreign thing. I still really have no desire to do it again. But, if I'm talking to someone who that is their specialty, I have a basic understanding of what they're talking about. And it makes it easier to build that connection. So yeah, really my advice would be, don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to try things that you don't think you'll like. And really with recreation, kind of we talked about before, don't be afraid to move. Go where that opportunity is, and you can probably eventually get to where you need to be. It's just, you got to take the scenic route.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with the scenic route. There's a lot of people who, I think Joel Jorgensen was a carpenter before he was a birder, and now he works at Game and Parks as non-game bird biologist. So we all have our different routes. We all get to where we're supposed to go eventually. So there's, like you said, nothing wrong with not taking that traditional route that a lot of people see. So that's great.
Yeah.
If there's anything else that you kind of like to end with, or something that you didn't mention that you want to, here's kind of your soapbox time.
My soapbox time. I wish I had some like great words of wisdom to share. But yeah, I really don't.
Hey, we got a lot of good information. So, and it's always nice for me to do these too, because I always learn about people and what their backgrounds are. Especially like you and I, we have a couple meetings a month, maybe together, and then we don't really see each other. We're different.
Yeah, and those are very specific, and so you don't get to talk about anything outside of that. Yeah, so it's like, a title of somebody's position, and it's like, I'm guessing this is what they work on, but you don't specifically know. So,
yeah,
no, I agree.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today, Erin.
Yeah, you're welcome.
For those of you that would like to join us next time, we're going to meet on October. Oh my gosh, October already. October 13th. We're going to be talking with Sarah Nevison, who is a natural legacy biologist here for the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission. And if you have any questions, I'm sure Erin wouldn't mind, or if someone would email, if we did have someone that would watch this and would like to talk to you about recreational planning or your job or something specific, to give that email address out and.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, my email address is a little different than everyone else's. So it's erin.l.johnson@nebraska.gov. You have to have the L in there, otherwise it goes to someone else that works for the state of Nebraska who does not actually use their email. So it gets lost in the abyss. So gotta have that L in the middle.
Well, that's rough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Erin, for joining us this morning, and we will talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks, Monica.
Thank you very much.